Good evening. My name is Jody Irons. I am the Executive Director of the Contra Costa County Bar Association, and I am so pleased to see everyone here for what is truly a very unique and rare opportunity. We are pleased to be co-sponsoring this event with the League of Women Voters, and we are just finding that this is an amazing time for this opportunity to be presented to us. As we all know, we are in very challenging times, particularly when it comes to the rule of law. The Contra Costa County Bar Association was established in 1934, 92, almost 93 years ago. And I don't think in the history we've found ourselves in where the rule of law is being challenged and the the importance of judicial neutrality is being questioned. I know I am literally preaching to the choir here. As you are interested, you are engaged, and you are involved. We have an opportunity, very rare, to hear from judicial candidates directly, what inspired them to do the work that they do, what they bring to the table, and how they, in the work that they do, continue to support the work that you all do. There are many judges and attorneys in this room and other members of the community who are fighting to protect the rule of law. So again, on behalf of the Contra Costa County Bar Association, the Board of Directors, the volunteers, and staff community, I thank you for being here. And it's my honor to introduce you to the moderator this evening, Paul Dirksen, with the League of Women Voters.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. As Jody has already said, the Contra Costa County Bar Association is hosting this candidate forum along with the League of Women Voters. No, I always do that. Last time I did that, I swear I had the microphone on and it wasn't, and I just kept talking. But I was told somebody else controlling that, so I think we should be good there. So the purpose is to present the community with the candidates who are running for the seat for Contra Costa County Superior Court Judge Position Q. It serves the greater Contra Costa County, and let's see. The superior courts, most of you know, but I know there are some other people in here too. The superior courts hear civil and criminal cases, as well as family, probate, and juvenile cases. Superior court judges are chosen through nonpartisan elections. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that does not support or oppose any candidate or political party. The League is here tonight to fulfill our key mission is to educate and inform voters in a space that is free of bias. The League and its co-sponsors are recording this forum. It will be posted unedited to the League of Women Voters Diablo Valley's YouTube page, and it will be broadcast on Contra Costa Television channels. Prior to the start of this forum, I asked the candidates to draw numbers and to determine the opening order of speaking. And they're seated as 1 and 2, which makes it easier for me to remember who picked number 1. When we get to the closing statements, we'll go in reverse order. And for each question during the forum, the candidates will have 1 minute to answer each question. We have 2 volunteers sitting in the front that have yellow and red signs that hopefully the candidates will be able to see. And basically the yellow will say 15 seconds, and then the red, it actually says stop. And, you know, as I told the candidates, I won't interrupt, but I'm really encouraging candidates to quickly wrap up their thought so we can either go to the other candidate or go to the next question. As we've said, personal comments about opposing candidates are not permitted. We're here to learn about each candidate, not how each candidate thinks of the other. Any statements about the opposing candidates must be verifiable in the public record, vote, public statement, contribution, etc. Each candidate is given the opportunity for 2 one-minute rebuttals during the program in case there is a personal statement that they wish to address. Few reminders for our audience. If you have any questions for the candidates, please write them down on a 3x5 card. There should be some people going around. They will come collect those cards. They will screen them for any duplicates. And, we might group certain questions together in the interest of time. We will ask each candidate to reply to each question. They have to just hold it because it keeps dropping down. So let's see. Since the forum is recorded, we ask that you please silence your cell phones. And out of respect for the hard work that went into providing this forum and to ensure there's no proper use of the forum's content, we ask that you do not film or record tonight's program. Like we said, we're recording the program in its entirety. We also ask that you refrain from cheers or applause for statements in order to preserve the valuable time to hearing the candidates' comments. But let's start off with a big welcome applause for our 2 candidates tonight. So in terms of the drawing order, Mr. Polyakov will start with an opening statement and followed by Mr. Hsieh. So, Hsieh. Okay. So each candidate will have 1.5 minutes, and Mr. Polyakov, your turn.
Yes. Okay. Can you hear me all right? Okay, good. Okay, well, first of all, thank you for coming. My name is Valery Polyakov, and I know it's almost impossible to pronounce and even more difficult to spell. But no worries, all you need to do is to find my name in the ballot and vote either for me or for my distinguished opponent. The reason why I am running for judge is, there are several reasons why I'm running for judge. Number one is probably because I have life experience. I had a career before I became a lawyer, which helps me to relate to ordinary people. I was a scientist, a chemist. Also, after that career, after I became a lawyer, I started I started practicing law in civil law. At the beginning, patent law. I'm also a patent lawyer, about a year and a half, a little bit over a year and a half ago, I joined the Stanislaus County District Attorney Office, and I'm working as a prosecutor since then. And one more reason for me to do that is because one additional reason is because I would like to provide voters with a choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hsieh.
May I stand?
Up to you.
All right. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Judge Jesse Hsieh. I'm a judge with the Contra Costa County Superior Court, and I currently serve in the Martinez Criminal Division. I've been a judge for 2 years, and during that time, I have worked in a number of assignments, mostly in misdemeanor criminal, but also in a number of civil hearings, especially in our Pittsburgh County Court. Right now, I'm in the calendar court, where I handle all misdemeanor cases except for jury trials that through the central part of our county, from Martinez down to San Ramon and out west to Moraga. We handle over 300 to 400 cases each week. I was chosen by the governor after an 18-month evaluation period, where I was evaluated on a number of characteristics across multiple levels, including impartiality, industry, integrity, professional skills, intellectual capacity, and judgment, as well as temperament, commitment to equal justice, and patience. I have been, and I will continue to be committed to upholding the rule of law, ensuring access to justice in our communities, as well as equal justice for all. And I want to thank everyone who is here and the League of Women Voters, as well as the Contra Costa Bar Association, for giving me this opportunity to speak to our voters about the judiciary. Thank you.
Thank you both. So now for the next 30 minutes or so, I will ask questions, and I had a couple prepared just in case. I think there were a couple of questions, and we'll have people go through those. So the first question goes to Mr. Hsieh, and you kind of both talked about it in your introduction, but can you elaborate a little more on what qualifies you to be a judge beyond the fact that you have a law degree? So why should we vote for you? Mr. Hsieh?
Yes, I'm writing it down. Sorry. Thank you. So, I can think of a number of things, but let me start off with the most obvious. I've been working as a judge for 2 years. I've done the job. I haven't been overturned. I've had no significant controversies. And I work every day in a manner which ensures equal justice, equal access, and making sure that every person who comes in my court has a fair opportunity to be heard and has a fair shake at what it is that they are asking me to do. I've cultivated this through a number of years when I worked as a public defender, when I worked as a police commissioner, when I worked in legal aid, working for those who did not have a voice, and understanding that what it is about having a fair shake in court, and that's what I want to provide for every single person who walks into my courtroom, regardless of what it is that you may have done, who you are, what favors or friends you have, or how much money you have. That's why voters should vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Polyakov?
Okay, well, if I can disconnect this microphone. As I already told, what qualifies me as a judge is the career, is the previous experience before law, so I can relate to ordinary people. Also, my experience, I am in the courtroom every day, practically every day, as a prosecutor, doing also a misdemeanor calendar and also doing the trials. As a prosecutor, my job is not to get conviction. My job is to achieve justice, not just for the victims, also for the victims and for the defendants. It's important that I do that with open mind, and I provide everyone with the opportunity to participate in the judicial process. Thank you.
Thank you. Comment for my timers up front here. When you hold up the signs, make sure that the candidates acknowledge that they see the sign. We're good, but just an observation. All right, second question goes to Mr. Polyakov first. How do you balance being an independent judge and being an elected official?
In this state, the judges are elected. And so we are elected as a non-political office. Our job will be my job as a judge will be to uphold the law, not to serve political needs of, some political parties. And it is my strong opinion that the judiciary is the last resort before the tyranny. And that's why it's very important to vote for the judges, and elect the judges with which voters feel comfortable. Thank you.
Mr. Hsieh?
It's an interesting question. One of the things about being in this particular system is after you're appointed to be a judge, you have to go up for election, first 2 years and then every 6 years after that. And of course, based on that, you have to be voted into that office. And, well, the other struggle with that is that you're supposed to be an independent judicial officer, making impartial decisions based on the facts and the law, and not because of bias or any political pressures. Frankly, the way I answer that question is, it's not hard. You make the decisions that are based on the law and the evidence without thinking about who it is that is in front of you, because that is what the law requires. Our job is to uphold equal justice and access to justice and uphold the rule of law. That's all it should be. And if I get voted out of office for it, then that's what it is.
Thank you. Next question will go to Mr. Hsieh first. So you both talked about being, independent judge and upholding the rule of law. So how can you tell us how you will handle conflicts of interest when you're on the bench?
Thank you for the question. Again, a very straightforward and easy question. Each judge who is appointed to be a judge is trained on judicial ethics. We learn about the canons of judicial ethics and what to do in every situation that involves a conflict. We learn to identify conflicts. We learn what a conflict is. Even the things that may be the appearance of impropriety, we have to determine as a conflict. And each one of these situations, you either disclose or you disqualify yourself, and you take, thank you so much, and you take yourself away from that case. Because what is the most important is to make sure that the decisions that are made in any legal case, again, as I mentioned, are based on the evidence and the law. And there can be no question as to the decision made by the judicial officer. So you have to make sure that you take yourself off of that case to make sure that that doesn't happen.
As Judge Hsieh previously said, the judges are supposed to recuse themselves if there is even appearance of the conflicts. And this is a very important rule because we want people to trust our judges. We cannot allow the judges to even appear to be biased. And it is governed by the judicial ethics. And I was a temporary judge in San Francisco County Superior Court. And I am also familiar with the canons. And I also had to take the training. And that's exactly what I was doing when I was a volunteer settlement officer. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, next question. Take one from the audience. The question was kind of phrased as a single number, but hopefully you can elaborate a little bit on this. The question that was asked is how many trials that you've been involved in or conducted where you were the sole attorney, and if you can elaborate a little bit on that situation. So, Mr. Polyakov, you first.
Yes, if I remember correctly, I conducted 11 jury trials and 1 bench trial where I was a sole attorney on these trials, if that answers the question.
As an attorney, I have conducted 41 jury trials, 40 of which have been by myself, and 1 of which I was the co-chair in them. I've handled a number of them. They have all been criminal trials. And they have ranged from the lowest of low-level misdemeanor crimes up to cases involving complicated forensic scenes, evidence, scenarios, one of which I think was essentially a shootout and a residential robbery in a marijuana dispensary that was in a residence. Some very serious cases, which were complicated and took a number of weeks to try. Also, as a judicial officer, I have presided over 29 jury trials. All right, thank you.
Thank you both. I knew that was going to be a quick question, just the way it was phrased. So you both talked about, upholding the rule of law, fighting for justice, and what the current system is. So one question I would like to ask, what do you believe are the biggest changes we need in our current justice system? And Mr. Hsieh, you first on this one.
I can think of two different things. The first one is that I think judges need to spend as much time as they can in our communities so that they can teach our public about our judiciary and teach about how decisions are made and why they're made. And so that judges can meet the people that they are presiding over, and the voters and the community can meet those judges. That has two effects. One, you get to teach people about about the judiciary, about civics, and about why we have a judicial process. And the other is so that they know who their judges are and can see the types of people that are chosen. The other, which I'll talk about very quickly, is about leveraging technology to assist with growing caseloads that are in our courts. As I mentioned, I have sometimes over 400 cases. I simply don't have as much time as I would like with every person. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, other question from the audience. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Hey.
Thank you for correcting me, Mr. Polyakov. My apologies.
That's all right. Okay, so in my opinion, there are several issues here, and what I can think of is, civil courts versus criminal courts. Civil courts can utilize more technology, and it's important because that's what I dealt as a civil lawyer, as someone who was practicing civil law, is that time to travel to court you bill to your clients. And if you can meet on Zoom, if you can do not necessarily trials, but if you can do appearances via Zoom, you will save money for your clients, you will become more efficient. And it's very important because there's accessibility to lawyers. Very often, ordinary people are not able to afford the lawyers, and that's exactly because they have to travel there. Unfortunately, it's not going to work with the criminal court because there you have to have in-person appearance, but okay, I guess I will.
Thank you. So now I'll move to the next question. So question from the audience, and this was asked a number of times. People are interested to find out more about your connection to Contra Costa County. And this one goes to Mr. Polyakov first.
Okay. I live in Contra Costa County. I am the resident of the city of Oakley. And who doesn't know where it is, it's between Brentwood and Antioch. It's a small city. I was practicing law in Contra Costa to some extent, although I was mainly practicing in Alameda County. Even though I lived in Contra Costa, most of my clients, civil clients, were in Alameda and in San Francisco. Although, yes, I did have some appearances in the courts of this county too. Thank you.
Mr. Hsieh?
Prior to being a judge, I was a public defender in Contra Costa for 9 years, where I served residents and people who visited our counties, and also saw and spoke with a number of the jurors and members of our community in those cases. During that period of time, I volunteered in a number of events connected with the office, and got to also travel to different parts of the county to meet each and every single one of the people that I represented, and also those that were around them in their communities. As part of being I left for 3 years to go work at the San Francisco Public Defender's Office, but I stayed connected by continuing to volunteer with mock trials, which occurred every year in our Martinez courthouse, to be involved with the Contra Costa County Bar Association. And as a judge, I have, worked in the county for 2 years. It's a county I chose to come back to because of how much it's given to me in my life, and continue to volunteer on a board and a mock trial and in whatever way I can for the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. All right. Next question. I hope I give you enough time to answer this question in a minute, but the question would be is how would you define injustice, and how would you deal with it when you're confronted with it in your courtroom? So this question goes to Mr. Hsieh first. How would you briefly define injustice, and how would you deal with it when confronted with it in your courtroom?
I don't think I can answer that in a minute. Let me just be very clear about it. We have so many injustices in the many different ways that we see in both our lives, in the media, and in our courtrooms. Some of the things that you can do as a judicial officer when you see injustice is to do something about it. Interrupt, call it out, correct it, or disapprove of it in the manner that you can. As a judicial officer, sometimes that's all you can do, because you can't drive the result. That in and of itself would be a different injustice. But what you can do is call attention to it, because as an impartial, neutral decision maker, that's what the options you have available to you. Thank you.
As a prosecutor, I see injustices also quite often. If I encounter injustice, and for example, if I cannot prove the case, if I feel that I cannot prove the case beyond the reasonable doubt, and this is a very big threshold, I dismiss the case. We do not subject defendants to stand trial, and then, if we can't prove the case. We also have to make sure that we seek justice for defendants and for the victims. As a prosecutor, I always speak, if it's not a victimless crime, I always speak to the victims and I find out what they want and how do they feel about the resolution, the proposed resolution. That's what I can do as a prosecutor. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see if I can. So there's kind of two questions from the audience that I'm going to try to combine because there's some overlap, I think. Can you elaborate a little more on your professional contributions and what traits are essential for an officer in Contra Costa County? And this question goes to Mr. Polyakov first.
I practiced patent law civil law, civil litigation, criminal law on both defense a little bit side and on the prosecution side. I've done a lot of volunteering. I was awarded the Distinguished Volunteer Award from Alameda County Bar Association and San Francisco County Bar Association for several years in a row. That's probably what the question meant, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Hsieh.
Can I have the question one more time?
I think the way I asked it was, can you elaborate on your professional contributions and your traits as judicial officer and as it relates to Contra Costa County?
I'm still a little confused about the question, but I'm going to do my best to answer it. I'm sorry to the person who asked it. When I think about professional contributions, I think about what work have I done in the county and what good have I done in the county. I've worked as a judge for 2 years. I've spent the time hearing all sorts of claims and requests and motions and hearings specifically for crimes that occur in Contra Costa County or things that occur in Contra Costa County. And in that way, I've contributed to it. I worked for the county for 9 years as a public defender, representing sometimes the residents, sometimes people who are there, but definitely working with people in Contra Costa County. And I've also am now volunteering on a board, helping develop young people in the law over in the west part of our county. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry I was confusing. I think it was a challenge for both of you. I was trying to combine 2 questions, but thank you for answering that in the best way possible. And I think you still showed our audience they learned a little more about you that way still. Next question. Can you tell us a little bit about what areas of the law would you say have most shaped your professional experience? And this question would go to Mr. Hsieh first.
It's a really straightforward one for me. I've worked in criminal law for my entire career. When I began as a lawyer, I first worked at a nonprofit in South Central LA, working on Clean Slate and helping people clean up their criminal records. Then I moved to the East Bay Community Law Center, where I worked as a legal aid attorney, again with Clean Slate, and then transitioning into areas of employment, housing, and all the collateral consequences of how a conviction might affect somebody. Then for a number of years, 12 years, I worked as a public defender, solely in the area of criminal law, but when I could do it, I would try to get away and try to help my clients in other ways in some of their other matters, civil, life, what have you. And then, let's see. And although I am certainly still learning a great deal about civil law and all the different things that come with it, I would say it's criminal law that has shaped a good part of my experience. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Polyakov.
Thank you. I guess I'm quite the opposite. So I started doing civil law, namely patent law. I was doing it on both sides, patent busting and patent prosecution. After that, I was doing a lot of landlord-tenant law, again on both sides, on the side of a tenant and on the side of a landlord. I started doing it as a volunteer, and then I switched, to full-time doing this, mostly landlord-tenant law. I was also doing a lot of civil litigation related to other things. And then at the end of the day, I joined the prosecution team, and I work as a prosecutor for the last probably year and 8 months. Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone in the audience has more questions, we're still looking for some more. We still have some time. So let me ask the following question, and depending on what more we get, this may or may not be the last question before we get to the closing statements. So the last question was about, what has shaped your professional experience to date. So my follow-up question to that would be what are things that you do that help you continue to develop as a legal professional? And this would go to Mr. Polyakov first.
I believe in self-learning. And I know it sounds strange, but I do read books. I read books, not necessarily physical books. Sometimes I have books on my tablet. And that's helped me to keep, I also follow the cases, the latest cases from the appellate courts. I diligently read for probably like 5 or so years till I became familiar with things that are happening, and that helped me to keep my professional reputation pretty sharp. So I knew answers to a lot of questions from that. Thank you.
Mr. Hsieh.
I think the first thing that I do is mindset. Although I try to be the most prepared and well-read person in the room, I take the approach that I am not the expert for the case in front of me. I am not the expert in the life of the person in front of me. I have something to learn from each and every single case. And in that way, each day, I am learning. Beyond that, I also recognize that the law is vast, and there are lots of different things in it. And so I make sure that each and every day I am reading and learning about the next case that is coming, new developments in the law, or making sure that I am on top of it. And finally, it is to remember and to always be humble, because no matter how much you may know and how much you may learn, there's always someone who's going to know more and to be smarter than you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, other question from the audience. I guess this kind of depends on your point of view, but I'm going to ask the question as it relates to some people view that there are a fair amount of controversies at the DA level in both Contra Costa County as well, I guess, in Alameda. And so when those types of controversies show up, could you tell us how that would affect your work as a judge? And I guess I go to Mr. Hsieh first.
My answer to that is, I think it depends on what the controversy is. If it's some political controversy, if it's about a challenge to the sitting DA, or it's about something that's occurring inside the district attorney's office that's about personnel and doesn't have anything to do with the case and the evidence and the law that's in front of me, that's their problem. What I care about and what matters for my work is about what happens in the court and how it affects the evidence and the law, the presentation, and the fairness to the parties. When it starts getting into that latter realm, that's when we start to have a problem. And in those situations, What we can do is we can hold hearings. We can, to the extent that we're being asked to, find out about those things. But all of it needs to come back to the work because we're not there as political actors. We're there as neutral, independent decision makers. Thank you.
I am not familiar with the latest rumors, and I don't want to entertain them. But if I am elected as a judge, I will have a case in front of me where I would have to look at the facts of the case and apply the law to these facts. That will be my job, and frankly saying, that is my job now as a prosecutor. I need to evaluate cases, see if if I can win them, and if I cannot win them, I dismiss them. It's simple. There is no politics involved. There is no outside pressure. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's see, another question from the audience. Thank you for bringing those all up. And I may actually not even get to all of them at this point. But I certainly appreciate your input on this. So, question that someone in the audience asked is, when a young person comes before you for some criminal violation, in what way would you consider that person's age, youth, and related to that, would you consider second chances in those cases? And I guess I go to Mr. Polyakov first.
Yes. If a young person comes to me, if a young person comes and is charged with a crime, the first thing I look at as a prosecutor is, first of all, how serious that crime is. And I also look at the criminal history of that person. Normally, if the person has done it once, there is an agreement with the judiciary and, unspoken agreement that we go for judicial diversion, giving that young person a second chance at life, not to sort of muddy the waters of his and not to impact his further career and perhaps his further educations. But again, it depends on the circumstances.
Mr. Hsieh?
The law has many different places where the age of the person in front of you is a very explicit factor into how you consider what happens in a particular case. It's sometimes a statement of mitigation. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that we know that young people are still developing in many different ways. They're developing their brains, they can succumb to influences, and they're young. They have their whole lives in front of them. And that's something that you consider in the totality of circumstances as you make a decision. Yes, I am looking at that. And I'm thinking about those things because our young people are so important. It is not the only factor, but it certainly is a very important one, and the law has recognized in many different ways. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think I am going to go to the final question before we go to the closing statements, and I'll make some comments before we get to that. So the final question I'm going to ask, and it will go to Mr. Hsieh first, is what do you think will be your biggest challenge as a judge? And or you can choose to answer either part of it, but the other part of it, what do you think you would struggle with in your job as a judge? Biggest challenge, and what might be the biggest struggle you might face?
I think I've already alluded to my biggest challenge. I do not have enough minutes or hours in the day to spend the time with people who, for them, when they show up in court, it is the most important thing that is happening in their life at that moment. I simply don't. I have to triage, I have to sort, I do everything I can to figure it out as quickly as I can, and I still go long, and I still spend many hours in court hearing. I think my biggest struggle shows up on my face. I'm young. I get it. I've always been young. I've been young in everything that I've done. However, it has never stopped me from being able to do the work that I need to do and to excel at it. I think the biggest struggle is when people see how young I am. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I guess I have similar issue with, not with being young though, but a very similar issue, and it's a struggle and it's a challenge. The biggest struggle is that you have you have a very significant caseload, and you don't have time to prepare sometimes. You do your best, you stay longer, you prepare better, you try to do it better, you use technology as much as you can, you use computers, but you still sometimes miss certain things. And that is a constant struggle. I am trying to be better. I am becoming more experienced, handling more cases, and that's probably the unique issue of criminal justice. I know that public defenders facing the same issues, judges facing the same issues, but it's usually not a challenge for civil attorneys.
Thank you both. And I knew I was going to challenge myself at some point when I asked for more questions. So So there are more questions that we could be asking, but we only allotted so much time for tonight. And so I think at this point, what we're going to do is go to the closing statements. If the candidates are willing to stay a little after this candidate forum, maybe you'll have an opportunity to ask your question of the candidate directly. And so for the closing statements, the candidates will get 1.5 minutes, and we do it in reverse order. So, Mr. Hsieh, your turn first for a closing statement.
I think what we've learned here today is that this is an election not about particular issues, but about qualifications, training, and experience. I think, though, that I am the only candidate here who has made it through an intensive vetting process, through multiple stages, surveys over 1,500 to various attorneys and judges among many, many different areas and qualifications, and have been selected as a judge. I have essentially been proven as a candidate and as a judge. And I think that shows up here today with the support of many of my fellow judicial colleagues who have not only seen me do my work now, but many of who I have appeared in front of, and they've seen my work over the years. I am a candidate with a great deal of judicial experience. 2 years, though, may not seem like a lot, but when you're running 400 cases a week, it is a lot. And so I do have the qualifications, the experience, and the training to be a judge, as I have been doing. And so that's why I humbly ask that you vote for me in June. Thank you.
Mr. Polyakov.
Yes, I know I was not appointed by the governor, and I never applied for this appointment. The main reason is that I believe that in this great state of California, we deserve to elect our judges. Even though I respect our governor, I voted for him, I still believe that we should have, we as the voters should have the final say about who we're going to elect as the judges. Because again, the judges is the last barrier against the tyranny, and it's especially important right now. As I probably demonstrated to you, I have a breadth of legal experience, not just criminal, but significant civil litigation in both federal and state courts, patent experience, and yes, a lot of criminal experience too. And I was also a judge, a temporary judge, and a settlement officer and a neutral in the San Francisco County Superior Court, so I do have some experience as a neutral. With that, I wanted to thank you for everyone for attending, and if you feel that I am a good candidate or a better candidate, please vote for me. Otherwise, please vote for Judge Hsieh.
Thank you both. Couple of final comments. I wanted to thank the Contra Costa County Bar Association again for co-hosting this forum with the League of Women Voters. And I want to thank you, for the audience, for engaging in the democratic process with your attention and thoughtful questions. Again, I apologize I didn't get to all of them. I know I invited more, and then all of a sudden I had more than I could handle. So I would say, be sure to vote on or before Tuesday, June 2nd. And with some changes that we've seen, if you do vote by mail, we encourage people to try to mail in your ballot probably 10 to 12 days before Election Day, because of some changes that has happened with the United States Postal Service. If you go in person, you obviously go on Election Day. If you use the county's drop boxes, you can use that up to 8 o'clock on Election Day, so that's your other option. But we wanted to mention the slight, it's not really a change, but it's more a different implementation with the Postal Service. So if you want to get more information about voting, everything can be found on contracostavote.gov. And if you want to find out more information about these candidates and other candidates and the propositions that are on the primary election for this June, there's a site called vote411.org, which is sponsored by the League of Women Voters. And we've tried to contact all the candidates and give them an opportunity to present their information to you. And again, we appreciate the candidates for being here and giving us an opportunity to get to know them a little bit better. And so, as final act, I would like to invite the audience to give another warm applause for the candidates who are running for the Contra Costa Superior Court Judge position Q. Thank you.